We'll give you a minute to say your.
Okay.
Don't worry. Nobody's told me they have a hard stop. I should have baked cookies. I know. Don't get any ideas about the July and August. I know, but don't like all get together and go, okay, for the July meeting, like we're gonna be out of town. I don't want to have to reschedule.
I'm going to schedule a meeting in July 1st.
I don't know, it's always the second Wednesday of the month. I think, no, it was Germanville. That would have been July 3rd. I think they got to the second. And this entire building does. Unofficially.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Are we live streaming? I'm recording backup, so chair, whenever you're ready.
So I'm going to go ahead and call to order the June Victorian or June 2025 Victorian Village hearing. Our next business meeting will be Wednesday, June 25th, 2025 at 12 noon. And that's going to be 111 North Front Street, second floor, room 205. Our next hearing date will be Wednesday, July 9th, 2025 at 4 p.m. That's 111 North Front Street, second floor, room 204, Zoom mezzanine. Go ahead and swear your staff. Okay, say your name.
Kimberly Bernard Sheehy.
You tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you. Introduction of Commissioner President.
Robert Dodson.
Schuler.
Belinda Shaw.
Reed Wright. Tim Skinner. Chuck Flanders. All right, introduction. So let's see, any overview of the hearing format that we want to touch on today?
I'll run through it real quick. So the hearing format shall go, the city staff shall present the application. The applicant and or owners shall be sworn in and asked to present any additional materials if needed. Registered speakers will be sworn in and provided 3 minutes to speak each if they're present. The commission will then discuss the case and ask questions if needed.
Do we have any public comment?
No, not today.
Go ahead and shift to approval of staff approvals. Is there a motion?
Motion for approval of staff approvals.
There's a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So, I'm going to do the list, just make sure.
Yes, if you'd like to follow along, we start on page 6 with 293 to 295 West 2nd Avenue, 50 West 3rd Avenue, 716 Park Street, 935 Neal Avenue,
Oh, do I need to recuse myself on that?
probably.
Yeah, yes. Choosing from 935 Neil Ave.
7-2.
Yeah, it's been so long since I issued that.
Yeah.
All right, the next one's a long one, so 811 to 815 Park Street, 821 to 825 Park Street, 70 to 80 West Hubbard Street, 65 to 79 Wilbur Avenue. We still have a couple more. It was a busy month. 1238 Neal Avenue, 331 West First Avenue, 997 North High Street, 308 West Second Avenue, 1238 Neal Avenue, 297 to 299 West Second Avenue, 737 Dennison Avenue, 916 Harrison Avenue, 1222 Highland Street, 1142 Neal Avenue, and 59 West 3rd Avenue. And Commissioner Sprite, I have it noted, you're recused from that one.
As well as 50 West.
Okay.
Go ahead and shift to approval of the minutes from, what's it, May 14th hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve minutes from May. Second.
No. Any discussion needed before we go there? Is all those in favor say aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. Maybe I should know for staff.
All right, I am working without my usual internet access, so bear with me, things are printed. We moved the first application to staff approval, so we're starting with number 2, which is 58 to 64 West Third Avenue. This application is to install 2 new panel doors on the first and second floor of the front elevation of the building. I've included the commissioner comments from the April 9th hearing. Staff has required front doors to be wood based on City Code 3116.11, subsection 6, the standards for alteration. And the commission has previously allowed exception to this requirement for uncovered doors. The applicant has provided doors in the area with the following addresses, and I've listed them out. And these were specifically the addresses and streets that were provided. Yes.
Before you go any further, if you have to, just want to be sure. Okay.
Yes.
I just want to be sure.
No, I appreciate it.
I know it was a lot, so I just before you just.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
No, you're fine. Not everybody likes to show up, so he kind of motioned to me, so. All right, so staff recommends approval of the application with the conditions that the front door material is wood, the door style is selected from the Victorian Village guidelines, or the half-light style that the commission has previously approved. Basis for staff recommendation, City Code 3116.11, these standards for alteration, as well as the Victorian Village guidelines on windows and doors.
Will you go ahead and state your name, you sworn in, sir?
Nick Caracan, Arcfluence, representing the owner.
So we keep that picture.
I do.
Turn with you, sir.
So it's good to be back again. I know we've been talking about this for a while. We went back out and just looked at every property for 3 blocks in all directions. Obviously, there are several examples of I guess we can call it non-compliant doors, but they either are not approved by you or they do not have a covering. We did find one though at, oh, I just had it. One we did find right down the street, 40 West 3rd Ave, that has a metal door that was approved by you guys, which is in our notes that we provided. So I just wanted to bring that to light, but everything is basically as stand from previous discussions, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
I think this one pretty much everyone's. This over one. Thoughts. The application. That's right. For me, it's this we go from slate to install correctly. Guidance would say what's appropriate instead of replacement. Okay. Clearest piece of evidence that slate. That bottom square. Some organizes. Any other thoughts, just in terms of materiality, exact recommendations, modified condition.
And it was wood before, right?
Correct, yes.
No, it wasn't. Well, I suppose it was. It was mostly deplete, falling apart, glass, mostly glass, multiple panels, more than 6. And with a steel on the top, you can see the steel screen door.
They were not installed.
They were not the original doors. The original doors were removed a long time ago.
Maybe staff's recommendations just. So we have less. Yeah. Straight. Okay, give it some meetings.
What's time period for the review?
great question. If I had to guess, and I don't know for sure, I would say they've been there for about 20 years, but they were replaced during COVID, so 2020. So the current doors have been there for about 5 years, and the doors prior had been there for about 20 plus years.
The solid doors, especially in upper. And.
So it seems like, I mean, what I'm, it seems like the probably as is with anyone. Just to take mission, that recommendation. And all of those and stuff. It seems like they Sure, I'm here, I would say, I'm sorry. Listening to cops. For sure, more so this happening, so if they haven't seen members, I just want to make sure that the ownership. And about further stating the next step was. But we have some additional from that, but we and if you get it, completely. I don't even question by you.
Just not sure on what grounds or just. It's not like a.
So it would be 40 West Third was bottom. So the door was rounded top. 6 feet.
We can also pull it up on Google Street View, if that would help.
So that was approved by. I can't see the broader building. It's a former single family. It's 40.
It's hard when it's that large.
And that does have a porch covering.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's original. All the houses on the street had regional bubble.
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem. Based on the style of the building, that's.
Okay, so I've got from county auditors, the 40 West Third building, as well as in the file, we would build next door. Yeah, the new build. So unless we're looking at different addresses and one was filed and approved under the address, and then the address on Google or at the actual street level is this one.
Well, it's a condo, it's the 2 buildings. Again, so I don't know what how we set up, but they would have been biggest. It's possible. So we don't know if that building.
So from what I have in the file, I was looking specifically at the approval of this building. So, which can sometimes create a little confusion depending on what previously applicants have submitted, because addresses get changed, ABC parcels get changed. It is a little hair pulling sometimes.
Those stores, I think that. As far as.
Yeah, we're in the skills.
Right, that's right. But everyone's on. So.
Yeah.
Are we, is. So, yeah, is the argument that solid wood is not historically appropriate? Leave that open, such that because where I was gonna go next was a previous applicant, west of Dolphin here, which is, it is a solid, two solid doors. I'll think it's very style or different, but they are original solid. In the package. Same page.
We do have the transom that was restored above, and we didn't change the size of the opening either, so that all dimensions remain the same.
Scroll up there. And that one right there is a double door, but it is solid. It's written. Strong. And specifically with the, if what was installed. I'm working on things out of it, yeah. Not having. Glass, correct.
That house. That's,
Right,
yeah, we don't know. If the doors, it's for base.
Replace the doors to be. Represented that, so. Yeah. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I mean, I've been struggle. Still, what has been done this time? So the listing, we're missing a materiality, property materiality. Yeah, very much. Also talk about. For a path forward. Raise motion to. For the conditions, the staff. Handling guideline or guideline or that is placed in it. And I like that. Well. And that's. That makes, so I think what Kevin is proposing is, a motion that we more in alignment with what staff is recommending. As a way to get approval, but then you can go to staff to be able to kind of flip that box. It's a motion that's in common with your. That is to maintain.
Yeah, I'm following.
It's the same, but just slightly different, helps you.
Yeah, or we could continue the application if the applicant would like to revise this as well.
You do have that.
I think we've taken this as far as it can go. I would like to, so we're, the owner's in the middle of adding 4 additional units to this 8-unit building. And I know financial hardship is not part of the equation in these matters, but if we could have a healthy timeline to remedy this, that would be greatly help our situation. So anything you can do, since it's already been 5 years, they put $1 million in this building. Their intention is for this to be a masterpiece. And you're welcome to tour the 8 units that have been done. They're beautiful. So I just want to kind of ask for that if it's possible.
So we have to take action in some form on this now. COAs are good for a year from when they're issued, which if it theoretically was approved tonight, it would be a year from today. And in terms of timeline, I can't really speak to that, but you've got the year when it's issued.
Understood.
I have to make. Seems like. The vote on. The staff is correct.
Yes.
Okay, like the faster resolution than, a, vote on, it's submitted, it go over this pass, and then another application.
Well, a vote that doesn't pass has some paths that can go down. Because say if it was voted on as submitted and then denied, we get into the appeals process. Which typically, if we're getting into the appeals process, we want people to come back in front of the commission. But for appeals, you're looking at things like possible financial hardship, strange and unusual circumstances, or the commission has been unreasonable, capricious, and something else that always escapes me.
If we can use financial hardship, I mean, we're there.
Hardship isn't just, these are too expensive. It's you're handing over W-2s, bank statements, like a lot of financial documentation.
Understood.
It's
Okay.
it's outlined in the section of code, but
That won't be necessary then. So then I would just like to clarify exactly what doors and how many then. Are we talking about the 4 entry doors on the first level and the 2 balcony doors on the second level? All 6 doors.
and would the commission be willing to entertain different ones on the first and second levels, or should they all match? I'm not sure if that's something you want to consider, but I do want to pose it to the commission in case it helps.
And this is just me. I don't know what I don't know, but there was a concern. There was a break-in a year and a half ago, or not a year and a half ago, when they were first installed actually, but the whole premise, and we weren't on that project typically, so we're kind of jumping in the middle of this for the renovation purpose, but the original renovation we didn't do. There was a break-in that the owner had mentioned to me, and basically like they're concerned about security too. So I don't know if that is something we can stand on or talk about, but I know a fully glazed panel is not very secure.
I can speak to that one. It's trying to justify it, it's important things, but the security thing, I only takes it so far. I live within spitting distance of here, and it was probably the same like my door was hit because several on the street door, and it's a full glass pane. The glass, right? This is how light goes. So, so, you know, we were follow that logic all the way through. It's that everybody saw it. 4 reasons. So.
Understood. Okay.
But to Kimberly's point, I think we have a second floor. So, discussion, you're open to that. The other thing is forthcoming additional. Just improve this, starts at the time of place and please get put into this. It's really changed at that point when there is.
So it's already been reviewed and approved, it's on its own timeline, but
That's what I said. Stairs.
Not on the exterior.
So, a lot of it. Do you have everything? Leave it about what this motion is going to represent.
We need to replace the 6 doors on the front of the property. And we'll work with to make sure that happens within a year's time.
I think Kimberly is offering you on motion for the flexibility on the styling. But I think Evan's motion was more so specific. all 6 doors in time with the guy.
Yep, we're gonna get all wood doors with some glazing, hopefully not too much, and they'll be beautiful.
So we should. Yeah.
So let's say I start. Show previously.
Yeah, and I'll just note as staff, the half-life isn't in the guidelines, but it's been approved previously, which is why I bring it up, because the commission has supported it. It's just, it's not in pretty pictures.
Very good. And when we say half-life, from a standpoint, it's right here. I was to say top 8, would that be considered a half-life? Would that
That, oh good God, that would be
Yeah.
considered 3/4.
And the only reason I'm saying this is because, I just want to make sure that you're clear, and I want to make sure that you're clear. And then, those are going to be Kimberly and that conversation going on. So I just want to make sure we're representing it right in your motion to help everybody, so we don't have. That's all I'm trying to.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if the motion includes like the doors in the Victorian Village guidelines or in combination with the half-life.
Okay, I just want to be sure, I think 2 conditions that staff is listed in the staff report. Just read it right. Okay. Raise it as well, so I'll work together for, so I make motion for COA 250012.C. 58 for West Third, to approve the application with the following conditions: that the front door material is wood, and that the front door style is selected from Village guidelines, or the half-light style that the commission will previously approved. There's that.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Right.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks.
All right, we will move on to application number 3, which is 239 Wilbur Avenue. So this application is to remove and replace the existing slate roof with asphalt shingles. The applicant proposing to replace the slate with either the GAF slate or dimensional shingles in the English gray, a slate, or the weathered slate, or the Serpentine standard 3 tab, nickel gray. The applicant, or sorry, the following comments have been provided from the March 12th hearing, which is when we last saw this. The commissioners at the business meeting wanted more information as to what would happen with the decorative bridge roll in the event that the roof was approved to be replaced. Since the last since the last review, HPO staff has received updated information, including a new assessment from another option roofing company whose services include shingle, silicone, rubber, slate, metal, and copper per their website. The commission will move to discuss if the roof can be replaced before discussing its replacement as well as what's appropriate. Staff recommends approval of the application with the condition that the decorative metal cresting is retained or replaced in like kind with details submitted to staff prior to review and approval prior to issuance of their certificate. And this is per City Code 3116/11 standards for alteration, as well as the amendments to the City of Columbus Architectural Review Commission guidelines from 2005 for slate roofs. And I'll hand it over to you, Sean.
Thank you so much. Can you guys take your name, please, swear?
Kyle Allfriend. Ahmed Mushiri.
Both of you.
Yes. So we were here a couple months ago. I just realized that a couple of things didn't get posted on the portal, but y'all had asked, I had put together, we've spent probably about $6,000 over the past 18 months just in doing repairs. I was out there this morning, and since we were out there 2 weeks ago, 6 more shingles have slid down. They're actually sitting in the gutter. I'm concerned they come off those slate tiles, and they could kill somebody if they came off the top. Y'all asked if I could look into a more octagonal shingle. We found one, we can't find where to buy it. Nobody has supplies of it, but it does exist, and I think we put, submitted pictures of those. But we can do the red trimming on there and that sort of thing. As far as the octagonal shingles to switch to slate, we can find those, but about a third of what's on the building now in slate are actually rectangular because those octagonal ones, they don't make any. If you kind of, and I think it didn't get on there for some reason, but, so I printed out pictures, but some of the pictures of like the roof, you can kind of tell it's almost like patchwork because we've had to do so many repairs. And my contractor who goes up there almost every roughly 10 weeks, we got to get up there and do some repairs. The two upstairs units, the roofs are leaking again. And he breaks 3 or 4 tiles every time he goes up there to repair. It is a steep roof. He's now refusing to go up there, so I got to find a different contractor now. Bottom line, that's because of those falling off, the danger related to it. As well, we'd like to switch to the asphalt shingles. And then we got, you all asked for us to get another assessment of the plywood up there. It's completely rotted, which is why we keep having the laking problems. The only way to fix that, we got to rip we got to rip all those slate tiles off to get to it, and they'll all be destroyed in that process.
Anything else?
That's it.
Any thoughts on that recommendation? Pretty clear. One of the things. Or I'm looking at that. Was there a visit?
No, we typically don't do visits for roofs. They do not pay me enough to get that high up.
Just checking.
Yeah, I have a fear of heights, so this is why in part it's left up to the professionals.
And the attic access is 18 inches by 24 inches, so I'm not up there checking either.
But then they on top of that, to provide staff so they can. This application is there done enough.
HPO himself has weighed in on this.
If it is possible to find the pointed style and the replacement versus the rectangular, and then making sure that not just the standard roll ridge cap goes back, but the one that you see. And yeah, that one.
Mhm.
Those are very much my characteristic.
Yeah, and we can do that. Not a problem.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just minimal, but then there are areas that have it.
So we have 2 slate assessments that we or we, how we picking winners or.
Shift that question, not necessarily.
Yeah, I know, sort of, because you.
Yeah, got it. But certainly, can you offer a little bit of clarity on the slate assessment as it relates to each determination?
The determination and recommendation comes directly from the historic preservation officer himself.
It's-
He's not here for me to argue with him or agree with him, so, but just the conversation was had, he, had provided his feedback, so just know staff report, the feedback, that it's all supported by him.
So I think obviously in the motion, they would represent that. Something to, so there's a need for further clarification that by. Anything else to? No, I get, I, So can we maybe switch from that, then go maybe to the shingle stuff and talk to that? So we're pretty clear as far as what the replacement of the bottom will be. Is that clear? For everyone?
Well, what was brought up last time, is it my turn? Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. What we'd originally selected was one of the approved shingles. It is a regular rectangular shingle. It was suggested, could we find an octagonal or kind of that shape one? We found a place in Europe that makes them. We haven't been able to find a place that has enough supply to do it. We're still looking through that. And it's not on the approved list. So we'd have to get samples and then kind of go through that process, I believe, because it's not approved. We were going to pick one of the regular ones that's on your approved list. But we can continue to go down that path. We have to buy the samples and have them shipped over from Europe to go through the approval process. And I wanted to find out if that's what you wanted before I took that step.
Did you look into any composite type shingles as opposed to just asphalt?
Yes, in terms of the shape, and we couldn't find anything. I believe 7 roofing contractors we went to. And they could not, none of them could find.
Were you able to find a certain T character that's on the approved?
Yes, yes,
That one is available?
yes.
That's probably the closest available. A little wider at the bottom, but it's at least. Or at least slightly standard.
Yeah, and that's perfect. And then the red, the accent trim, that's not, that we can do. That's not a problem.
So. it's like-
Yes.
Mhm.
That's the act you don't have.
Yeah, the carriage house is the only one on there that has that
Yes.
split corner, but.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a perfect rectangle, correct. Has a little bit of character to it.
And the metalwork in the valleys, it's currently the red,
Correct.
keeping that or?
Yes, sir.
Probably more likely to replace.
But, well, yeah, we are replacing, not keeping it. Yeah. That's, yeah. Exactly. You're correct. I meant replace it. It'll look like that. Correct. That is correct.
And the decorative work on the top is replicated?
Correct.
Let's see what value detail are. It's custom
Mhm.
done. One for staff, see.
Yes, unless, some of the commissioners wanted to review it as well, just to make sure it was in line with their expectations. Because we could subcommittee that if we needed to. I mean, the subcommittee, it depends on when the applicant gets information in, if anybody's on vacation, or checking their email. So that's always a bit of a variable.
So they have support by HP. That would be the help.
Yes, if I needed to, but I do want to default to the commission if the commission wants to see it, which would be great, but I'm comfortable with that.
With what's been talked about, do we need or we build the that would be able to profile, ensure that it's matched. So, okay, I just want to make sure. Maybe first. I feel like we talked through everything. Good. I think that initially, parish house product is the best time. I agree with taking what's the best one. I would be anyway. Is there a motion team quarterly if you're going to have some of the things that we've talked about today? I agree. Thank you.
So. Approve COA.
Do you want me to read off the COA number?
Number 3. COA, 0009. To approve the application with additions to obtain effective metal cresting, to replace the existing slate with the certainty carriage house on tag asphalt sheet. With any additions and informations of cresting staff. It's. Okay.
I have a question on clarification. With the retaining the decorative metal crusting, would that also be replacing it in like kind to match existing? It cannot be retained.
Right, replacing.
Yeah, you probably don't want me to keep all that stuff.
HBO staff, HBO reviewed both slate assessments and their recommendation.
So hold on, what?
What
You said,
exactly, you know, that they reviewed both slate assessments and made a determination for their recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 2005 amendments, this like assessments checked all the boxes that have been filed. But I can't say.
I agree. Well, I think the fact that we got conflicting, which is
Yeah,
the concern.
yeah,
But
but
you're right, Mike.
you have one that that checks all the boxes.
Yeah, because slate assessment could come back and say it's fine, they still check the box.
Yeah, well, there's certain requirements in there that they
It has to, yes. So we- that it is still on.
yes, second.
Anything else you need?
I
Yeah.
do not believe so.
You okay?
Yes. If not, I've got the recording. Plus, good backup.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed.
Yep.
Thank you.
For my clarification, then, so the next step, I need to get detailed specifications then to you.
Yes.
Is that accurate? Okay. We can have that done. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to application number 5, which is for 28 to 32 Buttles Avenue. This application is one of 2 for this address. So we're going to take it piece by piece. So once we get through reading this one, I'll read off the second application, just to avoid confusion, mainly by staff. So this first application is to install a 36-inch metal fence along the 3 properties on top of the existing retaining wall and stacked stone. Updated materials also include removing and replacing the retaining wall with a 2-foot CMU retaining wall. Commissioners at the business meeting wanted to understand how the base of the stone interacts with the fence. A scaled measured section drawing to demonstrate how the heights interact. The commission was concerned with how the gates interact with the step, as the inward swing would prevent the gates from opening. Commissioners will need to discuss how the proposed fence meets City Code 13.13, the standards for site improvement, since the fence is proposed only along 3 of the townhomes. The dry stack stones on top of their retaining wall were never approved. So would the addition of the fence mean that they would need to be removed, or could they be retained? And the retaining wall itself is likely a historic feature, as one has been in place since at least 1989 for documentation in the files. Staff does recommend continuance of the application to more closely follow the existing code and guidelines, and the basis for recommendation is City Code 3116-13, these standards for site improvement, as well as Victorian Village guidelines on fences and yards.
Can you state your name, sir, and sworn in?
Rick Caraba. My name and what?
You tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Thanks. Turn it over to you, sir.
Cool. So I start with the fence. We'll do it like one by one.
Yeah, we'll just talk about the fence first, and then after we get done with the fence, then we'll shift over to the balance of the next time.
Cool. Yeah, I want to make like a little courtyard. And last summer I tried putting a little free library that I have out there, and then people just kept coming up and stealing my books, and yeah, I'd like walk down the street and like they my books would just be everywhere, and I feel like if I have a little courtyard, it'll kind of deter, some, I don't know, anyone who doesn't have like a leave one, take one kind of intention. And yeah, that was kind of the primary reason. Also, the fact that I think it'll look nice. And yeah.
Is there anything, wanted to add to some of the things that staff take in their staff report in terms of recommendation?
Yes. So I added the one let me pull up my notes real quick from the last meeting. Um, so there was okay, so there was a concern about having or like how the like the fence is gonna join to the retaining wall. So I found a architect that I hired that was like, hey, I need to show some type of way that shows how the fence is gonna kind of be attached to the wall. And he gave me some drawings for that. We're just planning on doing some, I don't know, I think like concrete posts, like inward from the retaining wall. And so yeah, so I think that was kind of the plan for that. And then there was also a concern about the step that's existing, if the gate is gonna be getting in the way of that and like making sure that it's not. So I measured the step's like 16 inches high, and I made sure that the retaining wall, is 24 inches high, which is basically the size that it is now. Um, yeah. Mhm. I think that was everything, but if something else comes up, we could talk about it. Oh, and then Kimberly had sent me a message about getting specific spec sheets for the type of fence slash the retaining wall. And I didn't I guess we kind of didn't flesh that out or until I think it was a few days ago or so. But I did get that. But I have it with me. It's not attached to the application. If there is a way to circulate it, we can do that, but if not, I understand.
So, obviously, second, no good continuation. We got some line, instead of figuring out halfway, that's percent, that's in this instance. Maybe the overall, maybe it's something not necessarily just. Maybe this one single. I got a question. Maybe we can get into the product data, we can talk about that. a little bit more. So. Well, maybe to start with the wall. That type of. Modular unit is not something. The material, I think, could be debated, that size. Small. See. Monolith for stone or something, emulating stone, way longer, bigger pieces.
Okay.
So I would challenge that. But then, if the wall is, then it's probably the material. Season.
Okay.
For that. So, with pros and cons, but this time of year, speak to. See.
Okay.
The other piece I'll throw out there is that we've been.
we have scrutinized the combination of wall and fence quite a bit here recently. The reason behind that, you see plenty of applications of that throughout, but careful having too many properties that have intimidating profile. So that's the combination of the wall
Mhm.
together that creates a certain environment. Street.
Yeah.
One-off cases, I think we can debate. But as soon as we get too many of them. So understanding a little bit more about the context of what's next door to this property.
Yeah.
The other thing that we've done is kind of compromise to that of understanding that sometimes that is needed for security and for grade mitigation. Is considering that relationship between the wall and fence, sometimes just a simple setback of that fence provide a little bit of a buffer, so it's not quite so intimidating right at the edge of the sign.
Right, and that was one of the main things I was thinking about is like the intimidation versus inviting, because the whole thing is I have this little free library that I want to like kind of like share with people. I want people to come in, and like do their thing. And I think in the drawings we had it was a 2 foot retaining wall and then like a 3 foot like black iron fence. So totaling it would be 5 feet. But yeah, all that is subject to kind of change. I'm open to whatever. And then I guess on the thought about the type of stone wall we would use, I'm open to using whatever. I kind of just picked up some spec and some examples just to get something on the application, but I'm not married to anything in particular.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that I'm going to let the rest of the team, if they have maybe interest, maybe their questions or their comments, and then we'll circle back.
Okay, cool.
That way we can more interested in context.
Cool, yeah.
Forcefully.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
that's okay, that's good.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
But no, the thoughts too. That's good. I was looking at the talking.
They had to creep up, right? So I'm looking at at its highest point, maybe you've got a foot or foot and a half to the point where it's really taller, but for the most part, the retaining wall that's there is less than a foot tall. As I say, they tend to creep up. This one's creeped up with cobblestone, right? Because people like to just keep adding to these. And then the application then raises that up to 2 feet, which is actually above the grade of the stoop of the walk. So, as always, I'd say that why does this need to keep coming up, right? It's because we keep raising grade and we don't want a flat yard, so that's not. So something we're considering, trying to keep that retaining wall. I'm trying to keep an existing retaining wall if at all possible. Any point, setting a fence behind that, so that you have some opportunity for plantings and things to make that a little bit more inviting.
Yeah, no, about that. I agree. I would consider the stairs. Just maybe your starting point, so maybe you're height taller than those, but I would go no taller than that. I think ultimately to resolve that, I think with the application, we still probably need a little bit more of understanding how that return relationship to the stair. So I think using those as a starting would be helpful for solving the term.
Right, and might also indicate that right now, the current design has the fence coming in at the stairs so that you can operate a gate. So now you've got all this, just length of fence, if the fence is pushing back, it mitigates that problem potentially. So you don't have an L-shaped fence. Angles to the fence.
Yeah, the other was, to bring up the higher is part of one, the taller it is, the higher your grade is gonna get. House.
Yep, yeah.
Reality,
The specifications of fence, I think that's the bottom, right? Down the details on that work.
some shit back. So I think that's some of the things that came out, I think, is that was already at. Where some of these things were, hey, so Do you think you have enough to the future for the comments and dialogue here that gives you what you need for, let's say, provide that?
Yeah, I mean, so I just want to sum up, I guess, everything that I'm hearing. So no higher than the existing retaining wall, which it really stairs being the starting point for the existing stairs. Because that's kind of like the floor, no pun intended for, how low it can go. And then Reed, you made a comment about an L shape, and I just want to make sure we're on the same page about it.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the revised drawings instead of the one that has the picture of the fence. So the previous set of drawings didn't really address how those gates were gonna open. The new set of drawings has, if you made fencing along the street there, and it pathway that goes in for a few feet to then a gate, so that you could walk up the stair, open the gate, continue in.
Okay.
So it just creates a lot of fencing when you add it all up from a length of total fencing.
Okay.
So, one way to mitigate that additional type of feeling of the heights to the stair, but if you were to push that back, the whole fence back, that return that we have going up the path would get shorter, maybe help mitigate that issue.
Okay. Okay, noted. And okay, cool. And then yeah, I mean, one thing I would say, and then also you guys want to see, or is there any way I can get any more information on like, kind of some sort of rubric of the exact material you're looking for, you had made some comments about kind of like the length or I know the type of stone maybe. Yeah, just something, so I know I'm going and getting something that is gonna get approved.
And natural stone,
Okay,
would be starting point, say that absolutely has to be that. If we're talking about a 12 or 18. Where it's concrete and has the appropriate finish.
right,
So it's not an easy answer, but I would look to examples from. Like limestone chunks are pretty common. They go with the stone to here. Given the size of well we're talking about, probably it's not necessary.
okay. Yeah, because I guess it's really only gonna shape out to be a, I don't know, 12 to 16 inch, depending on that step, more or less. Okay, cool. And then, cool, yeah, I think I have a total understanding. I mean, is there any reality where I can go and, kind of like get conditional approval and then get these materials and that are meeting what we're talking about, and I can make the thing that I'm talking about, just because it's, weather is kind of, time is of the essence. We're in, June now in summer, and I don't want to have to wait another month to have this,
Yeah, it just seems like, I think there's not a lot of answers, like there's a lot of things open, so just materiality, or like that's one of those aspects, but maybe there's probably something that the team maybe consider, but it just feels like that from a planning perspective, I think materiality extends some of the things that have been highlighted. I mean, pretty much all of the exhibits have to be probably think it's a little unfair to shift that for one to HDO staff, in terms of being to kind of work those, so it's probably something that.
okay, so the kind of the changes that we want to see are in the drawings, we want to see the height changed from, I guess, 24 to 16, or, we'll get that measurement of the step. And then, we want to either address the L shape or just push it back, a foot or two or whatever matches with the step.
It seems like there's a combination of the two, though, not necessarily one or the other. I just want to be clear.
Not one solution.
That's right, but I would need to put it back to be the condition.
Got
But
it.
then with that, it's going to help solve some of the conditions that we.
Okay.
And the commission's pretty open to seeing options as well, because those options will help get things going a little faster.
Really good idea.
With the revised height wall, if you come back with a different combination, convinced, I can't tell you yes or no if pushing it back is going to be necessary. I think that's something for you to explore, but just understanding that we're looking at that in totality,
Yeah.
keeping that so it's not becoming intimidating. So I think you're open to options.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe it's, I mean, I'm even thinking about it because I'm getting the principle of the intimidation factor. And if, the retaining wall goes down to 16 inches and then maybe the fence even is 2.5 feet or whatever, instead of 3, the whole thing is just a little bit more balanced, I guess you could say,
And I think just make sure that whatever you said, it's clear what's going on the steps and the gate and how the retaining wall is going. I think that's gonna be important for our final approval, to make sure that all fits together, right? If you've got a wall that's at 16 and a step that's at 12, well, okay, how does that work? Where does the gate land and how does that get on? Right? Making sure that it all works together. We're looking at sort of a 3 slot, series of water. Part of the dry stack is the dry stack wall to the west.
So when you say dry stack, do you mean like the retaining wall?
The stones on the top of it, looks like it.
So, just to give some context on the building, the whole building, I think it's like 28 to 56, is basically 28-30 is its own thing, and then the rest is a condo association. And so the wall, that was there, or, that we have is, different than the wall that the others have.
There's no radiation. Very good.
Would additional contextual photos be helpful?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I'm pretty good, actually. And I guess doesn't know it. It's the commission. Kimberly, were you stating that it's likely these dry stack stones are restored?
No, the dry stack stones haven't been approved,
Okay.
but the use of a retaining wall along the site is historic.
Very nice.
And then you would also just address the materiality. I know it's part of that. Take the information that we had now back into first game that, which awesome. Anything else there?
No.
So is there a motion to continue this application?
Motion to continue application COA 25-00528, 28 through 32 Fellows.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Switch to the next application.
Yes, so the applicant stays in place, but will direct our conversation for a conceptual review to modify the 3rd floor flat roof to accommodate a patio on the rear half of the roof. The proposed rooftop patio would have an area for skylights to retain the existing wall and install matte latex railings. This skylight would measure 2 feet 3 inches by 12 feet 10 inches. Gutter would be installed between the deck and skylights and install enhanced naturals 1 by 6 by 12 inch Rocky Harbor grooved ed gray composite deck board. The doghouse with black vinyl siding to be installed approximately 15 feet 11 inches long by 4 feet wide. And new shingles would match the color of the existing roof. Staff has added the commissioner comments from the March 12th hearing when we last saw this application. Commissioners at the business meeting requested a sightline study from all 3 sides of the building. This study could either be the 3D model or a photo with the assistance of a pool or balloon. The proposed height, but it's a 3D model. The commission requested corresponding photos of the areas. Commissioners wanted to know how long-term effects, such as possible water infiltration, and how the railings interact with the roof through penetration points. A section drawing of the roof to show adequate support was also requested. They noted the proposed skylights further complicate the design, and the applicant has provided updated materials, including the sightline studies. Updates have been made to the previous conceptual drawings to address some of the commissioner's concern. and the design has been slightly altered from the previous review. The commission needs to discuss if the proposed alterations can be removed, and if their installation and or removal will impair the central form and integrity of the structure, per City Code 3116.11, subsection 10. Also, since this is a row house, is the alteration of a single roof appropriate? HBO staff will note that the drawings, while more accurate, still have some inaccuracies that need to be fixed, such as the proportions along the roof of the dormer chimneys, etc. And there's a window on the rear on the top left that is shown as there, but it's not actually present in construction. The commissioners should offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal for review at a future meeting. Again, no action will be taken on this because it's conceptual. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11, these standards for alteration, as well as City Code 3116.13, the standards for site improvement.
Sir, just turn it over to you. Anything that you want to make, just
Yeah.
staff's thoughts or initial thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the more exciting one. I think I initially kind of started drawing this up, I don't know, like 4 or 5 months ago or so. And yeah, I mean, I think it's important to note too that 28-32 it used to be on one parcel. And I purchased that 28-32. And then we kind of converted them so that they're now each on their own thing, and I still own all 3 of them. So just contextually, in terms of like the neighbor, whatever, I'm the neighbor. But yeah, no, I just want place where I can get some sun and isn't, I don't know, like in the park where, I don't know, there's other people or things happening or whatever. Yeah.
Honestly, just thoughts that would help the application, stable temperature. On to the west being.
The site studies show that it is, which is my concern, especially the site studies. You already see the railing by the details is 6 inches shorter than it needs to be, maybe 42 is all. It would also be much denser rail, but it's rendered, which again is just to make it that much listed. Looking at the details too on 8.5, are you extending the parapet?
No. And I actually had told my I was talking with my general contractor, and there was a question initially of like how the railings would be adhered to the parapet, and we actually just he decided that it would be better, and I think we even talked about this in the preliminary, to just move it inward, and the parapet's not going to be touched at all. And so I think, I don't know where in the drawing that would be, or that got reflected, but detail too.
18 inches.
Those details need.
Sorry, it's well, there's 2 8.5s. So this one here. Right, and the detail too says new paragraph. I think it would be. Yes, it sounds like it's.
And the construction details are wood versus this one.
When you say wood,
Like, how that parapet is drawn, it looks like it's a wooden stud backup with just a bare brick top of the stud,
I think it's
or brick on.
I think it's referencing the like the wooden roof deck. that is being proposed where it would go into that.
These details. So as to where they are. What exactly. Where that box cover is.
Operating thoughts that we got to circle back to that. But I think also building up side is showing chimney. Sorry. Yeah, stage two, chimney two. It looked like one flat parapet. Chimney, it's got a shorter parapet. Chimneys. Shape right now, matches part of the townhouse further. So. To modify the chimney. Even if. So, yeah, here we got it, taller. Say, it's very shape. Something that's aesthetic and sort of changes. Yeah, sorry, the whole thing to print videos when it showed the existing parapet. Show it not being effective, new drawings, show it being cut flat or built top flat, built top. So. To the point where we don't know what's new and what's old. So you can see here it's a straight line of the recline, go up a few more sheets. You see this one was kind of stepped up and down all over the place, which is the existing condition. All there. This is what we would be expecting as parapet should be. You have thoughts on the application, there to the application. Any concerns from the standpoint of, this city or dump? So, I think right now, we've been giving the applicant more so feedback on the school board of the proposal. Is there a possibility of giving some just high level general understanding or any concerns? Introduction on the school board.
I'd say any detailing needs to be very, one of staff reports comments is, it needs to be very reversible. It's a historic structure, so don't miss it with your goods, don't miss it with it. Anything that you add should be very visible on that.
I think in my mind would be all rival rail proposition that still want to solve portion. How it feels like probably back down to level. At least I have struggle with this structure of stair. Such a problem. So we'll have to provide access, but obviously it's not as convenient from an access standpoint, but it's like that. It's an upgrade that you don't get out. It's not a digital structure.
I would say I have a slightly different approach to that. Sideline so it demonstrates as it's building elevation. And I can see a situation where 50 years from now, it's not going to be character and architecture in the ways that the chimney modifications are. So you see it from the curve bench. That's the shortest part of the. And
street facing or park facing. First, supported. House edition, if all the things that make it possible. Verify the exterior. I would. It's not like I see much in the neighborhood. Corruption. Or other options out there. Define convenience out of one. There's one slide over on a way that one straight up and instead of hatches. So you still have a set of stairs. I would encourage at least looking at some of those options. Otherwise, it is going to be a matter of trying to get this thing as unobtrusive and non-visible, which any angle if possible. By then, I don't know what you're kind of getting left with. Yeah.
Do you feel like you think you have enough as far as maybe that next step from the feedback that you're getting today?
Yeah, let me just repeat back in summary, just to make sure I'm kind of getting all the points. So, well, for one, it needs to be, I think right now what's in the attachments is, I think there's like two different sets of drawings, because I went after the preliminary, got a new round done, re-uploaded them, and I think so there's some confusion in the drawings, specifically in A2 with the chimney height, and then also specifically with consistency around the parapets and the chimneys, not, making it very clear that they're not being modified in any way. So yeah, so that is one big takeaway. And then making sure that any detailing needs to be reversible, in kind of like auditing all the, materials and changes, and, making sure it's, whatever the installation process would be reversible. Mitigate the visibility of the railing, and the doghouse, if it's still trying to push through the doghouse. I'm hearing some, language that, that the skylight, the hatch, might be, easier to potentially get approved. Granted, there's a trade-off with that, kind of like ease of access, whatever. I would cite so those are kind of like, I guess, like the initial thoughts. I would cite like directly across from Buttles was kind of like the inspiration, if you guys know the ones that I'm talking about, or directly across from Goodell on Buttles. It's like 100 to 112 Buttles. It's like, I don't know, there's like 6 or 7 condos there, and they have, that was a lot of it was the inspiration, but it's, they have the little doghouse, and then they have the railing, and then they have their little deck up there. Granted, very obtrusive, very seen, etc. But when I initially reached out, I was informed that was before the commission was formed, etc. So that's just what it is. But yeah, I think I have some good takeaways to go and, kind of refine the drawings, provide some clarity about the the structure, and yeah, and and update some things, and yeah.
I mean, great recognition. Example, it's always helpful for us if you have some inspiration in mind, particularly if it's in the neighborhood. Not to, I mean, we'll debate if it's
Right.
helpful or not, but I think it's always helpful, particularly if it's conceptual. So
Okay.
visualize and,
I believe he's referencing the build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part. Yeah, I would just want to mention one other thing that I think that would be helpful as you kind of continue to think about the quality of the materials. I think that whatever the materials that are being, with your next application, you just make sure that the materials themselves are of a certain quality that meets the guidelines. And it's kind of part of the application, because I think that's going to help us better understand the details that are applicable that short as well.
Cool.
Well, thank you, sir. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you guys.
All right, do we have the applicant here for 120 Goodale Street? All right, we'll circle back around. That's number 7. Mr. Henry did say he wanted to withdraw it, but I had encouraged him to at least send a representative, so I wasn't sure if that was gonna happen or not, but we'll pull 7 and we'll circle back to it if we need to. So we'll move on to number 8, which is 1148 Neal Avenue. This application is to demolish a 2-story rear addition and construct a 1-story sunroom. The new addition is to measure 18 feet deep, and this is a conceptual review. Commissioners at the business meeting requested a demolition plan and an existing condition site plan. They were unclear if the addition was basically rear porch or if it was some of the house. I included drawings from a 2013 approval for a small rear addition and porch, which was part of COA number 13-8-17A and B. And per the drawings, the removal appears just to be the 2-story porch, but I'll let our applicant confirm. Commissioners should offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal for review at a future meeting. No action will be taken. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11, the standards for alteration.
Thank you. Can you state your name, sir? You sworn in?
Steve Hurt with Urban Order Architecture. I do. We are just removing the porch. If you can look at this photo, there's full height glass doors, like fixed French panel door, operable, and another one. That is on a little bay that is under the 2nd floor porch roof. So I believe that was added when they added the porch. We're keeping all of that. So that entire rear facade will be still an exterior wall, and then we're going to add the sunroom past that. And go ahead. And the primary reason for this is the existing porch is sort of awkward. There's 2 parts that are both sort of small, and they never use the 2nd floor. And there's a lot of deterioration, and they're like, let's make a usable space instead of trying to fix this 12-year-old porch that's not exactly built correctly.
Does it just be the porch is gonna?
Yes.
Just be the bay, like you said, it's staying this time.
Yeah. So we'll build on to that, and then we have plenty of room to put a hip roof on, and change the door to a window and just clean things up.
That was my next question. Door to window. Concern. Do we have any historic photos or anything of this house prior to the porch being put on?
Of the rear?
Well, it was approved in 2013.
Yeah, I can take a look, but I want to say that door that's on the 2nd floor there, I'm gonna wager that's, I want to say that portion, the clad might be a transition, if I remember correctly from the drawings.
It appears, and I believe that the homeowners believe, or that they were told that that was a 2nd story entrance for an apartment unit
Like it
at
was
some
split.
point. And that frame element,
15 is not that one.
I did pull it should be included.
So that's only 12 years old.
the porch. I think that the frame piece with the flat roof and the brick piece with the flat roof are two separate additions that were before the porch. And there's a,
Big. Of the. Like,
And eventually, then, special approval of the site plan should. Yard.
we sent one in.
There's a site plan, but it doesn't show any.
Patio.
There is always the chance that you uploaded it to the portal and it doesn't save it properly. Because that's happened a couple times.
Okay,
So we're
because
gonna-
this one doesn't have the dash line of what is existing and what is. I have another site plan that I thought we sent with,
You probably did, and it just did, like, I've had a number of people be like, hey, I uploaded this, and then I've been like, I don't see where it is. I know the portal is difficult for applicants, it's also finicky for us as well. We're still working through the, having used it for a year and how we can improve upon it.
yeah, I think you asked for additional information, so we updated this to, and has a June 4th date, and that's not that.
So that's what we asked for. But yeah, ultimately for the same thing. If there's any patterns remaining with the new addition, action of the walkway. Site outward. Structure.
That is to the final set approval. Sections.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we just wanted to make sure you're good taking off this non-historic porch and putting a new addition on. I think so. Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna ask for a quick 5 minute break, though. 5 minutes or less.
Thanks.
It's for the last meeting. Is it? Yeah. That's that right? Oh, yes, I'm up to, it's down. Gotcha. Yeah. So have you been? Good. You got a great mutual acquaintance. The younger guy, you'll see.
It's not a small word.
Is he deaf too? Yes. Yeah, just, it was all right. This not so long ago, and then they saw him at an event. They used to, the month ago. Okay. And it came up. No, that's the other side. Gotcha. Gotcha. Mutual. Gotcha. That way. And then I think it's one language. But it is. But then you might mention this. Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah. Yeah, he's telling me otherwise, we actually just lost on a place done.
And then like,
Okay.
and then you guys talking about sort of, we're gonna go like, and that feels here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's lives down the street from me and it's a, well, yeah, yeah, it's a, they have the ladder, right? Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, they do, the symbols and. Yeah. I don't want to. Yeah. Yeah, he's always, yeah, they got some. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, yes. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that's absolutely dog.
Yeah.
Stop for right from other people.
Although, I think that's the, yeah, it's, and it's much more, it is going up, yeah.
Right, it's a different box size.
Yeah. From the.
Yeah. Zoom sets.
Yeah. Why do we?
I have to ask, where did you get that photo?
This one?
Yeah,
I think it was my manager that actually found it.
okay, yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen that photo.
Would you like a copy of it?
Yeah, if you want to, mine, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's way cool.
yeah.
Goes back a while.
If you do not receive it with your meeting feedback.
Okay. Okay.
And as if we're already, I'll read the staff report. So this application is 1101 North High Street. It is conceptual. It's to remove the existing sign structure from the roof and repair the roof to keep the building watertight. The application is the result of a code violation for signage not maintained. The commission wanted to know if there were any structural or other underlying conditions. They expressed concern about the lack of maintenance the building has experienced over the years. For the applicant, the building became a Big Bear grocery. Roughly in 1948, HBO staff has included the 1975 photo of the sign and the material. Per Google Street View, the Family Dollar appears to have closed between September 2017 and October 2015 and has remained vacant for the past 7 years. HBO staff considers the signage historic and encourages its retention as well as its restoration. We do not support its removal. The commission should offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal for review at a future meeting. No action will be taken. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11. These standards for alteration, as well as City Code 3116.26, civil penalty, often known as demo by neglect. Short North design guidelines regarding the signage, including the general signage guidelines. And I'll hand it over to you, Sean.
Gentlemen, state your name this morning.
Bill Hadler?
Theodore King,
Both agree to tell the truth about what you do.
I do.
I do.
Wherever you guys.
Yeah, so I gotta be blunt here. This is the first time as a commercial landlord I've ever requested a sign removal because I've always believed in the importance of signage of being vital to retail tenants. But the reason for this is, this site is up for potential redevelopment, and we've asked for its removal because, the building is unlikely to be used again in its, current shape. We're wanting to do this because if the sign's going to be coming down as part of a future redevelopment anyways, or rephrase, we'll be requesting such. Our opinion was, it was going to be, a lot of money for us to, repair the sign into its former use. So the site is also currently undergoing a state right now, and yeah, we're a little bit worried about the amount of money it would, take to put into this for the building for the time being. No, that's it for now.
Any thoughts that would help the application?
It's hard to argue that this is the defining characteristic of this building. It doesn't have that much else. Before.
If you in a position to talk about timeline. Development.
Unfortunately, because it's going through state considerations, I can't really accurately answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to.
Yeah.
We understand that.
Yeah.
There's likelihood of some activity here, but without knowing what that is.
Mhm.
Direction.
We're gonna let you get through.
Right.
Yes, I'm a little confused as there's a citation as a result of the signage.
So,
Not be
yes,
repair,
yeah, so,
not the building, it's just.
I think it specifically says the signage, so, with being in the program that we're in the portal, I can access the code citations.
Okay,
Typically, in previous past, the code officer has provided, some kind of like standard language of like, it hits A, B, C, and D. But I can see the actual complaints now, which is weird, and I specifically cited set the signage, the maintenance. So there's a couple ongoing factors, but I think.
Can I just chime in? We were cited, we got code violation notices the same day about the sign and also for graffiti on the building. Now, you see the graffiti above the canopy there. We have a contractor coming to deal with that on the brick. The storefront has been boarded up. We paint that fairly regularly. We just painted it about 2 weeks ago since this picture was taken. I was down there yesterday morning. What we do is we create a clean billboard for the graffiti artists. We paint it and boy, they enjoy doing it all over again. So we have worked on the graffiti many times. And I don't know how you stop it.
yeah, and it's going through the state process? you said?
Yeah.
So, but you're still allowed to alter the exterior of the building?
Right now, like I said, again, it's going through the state process. I mean, the reason we were asking for that is just, again, because we believe the site is a redevelopment or a sale candidate one day for us. And, the amount of money it would take to get that building good for a tenant, if we were to retain the building as is, it would be a significant amount of money.
Yeah. And the reason I'm asking is I don't know what the remedy for the code violation is. But can we sign up?
I mean, we could put in sign panels. I mean, if that's what the commission would really want us to do, that's fine. I mean, but our logic was, I mean, it was gonna get, again, we believe it was gonna get redeveloped and, we go through, the process that, we were just gonna be putting money into a sign that was, probably gonna get torn down here at some point. So, but again, I mean, if the sign, is to remain, you just want sign panels in it, we can do that, but we just figured that this would be a mutual, possible solution to, the future use of the site.
Are there any structural?
So it's my understanding that the sign, there are 2 poles in it, if I recall correctly, and one of them is attached to the building. The other one is a little bit more freestanding.
They both go down into the building.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very solid, stable. It's just old and the sign doesn't serve any purpose now or for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. It seems too early. Taking that as we go really.
Mhm.
Or then this should be improved or anything.
I mean, if it's the consensus of, everybody here that, you want us, just remedy the code violation in terms of repairing this, just putting in some, sign panels in there, that we'd be okay with that. It's not our preference, but, again, we want to be cooperative here, so.
I'm just kind of thinking about, given where it's at. Right now, we don't really know. Is that buried? Or do we continue this application?
So it's conceptual, so we don't have to act on it. So if they're going to come, so they're here for removal.
Yep.
And then if they wanted to pursue removal, they'd still have to apply for an action item. But if they're going to modify, they would still be applying for an application and be like, hey, put temporary panels in.
Yeah.
And whatever other maintenance, which I don't think the code violation was specific. It's just lack of maintenance.
Right. Yeah.
That's- Okay.
So I'm gonna this football. So sign stays on. Put in panels with that. Blank panels, it's a very art installation opportunity. We can't. I mean, just Yeah, is there a creative solution here?
We would be open to that, provided that we are not, I guess, permanently making that making it a permanent installation would be, like, it would not impact future, items that come before you guys.
So I'm going to note that if we're going to put an art installation in the sign, I think that might constitute in some form or fashion private property. So then I don't know if you need to go to the art commission is my.
I think we probably would.
We would be happy to, if that was a preference.
Yeah, I would have to double check with the staff person for
Yeah.
art. If we did if theoretically, if we did something artsy in the sign, kind of space, even if it was a temporary installation, if it be reviewed by the board.
I mean, we want to be very supportive of, the short north of Victorian Village community. So, I mean, if this is something that would be desired and there was a way to do it, with really not a whole lot of cost beyond, what the panels would cost, we would be open to that. But the one thing I would like to clarify is if we do go in that direction, there's not currently active power to the sign, so it would be daylight only. It would be not lit at night.
That would be acceptable for the ability to contain future and the sort that. Originally.
Yeah, and I can only imagine the cost to make it all neon again and all that, but
You guys are open to that. Just talk about the property and whether it's the sign or if you're eating animals or is there an opportunity there?
we would consider that, provided that we were given an extension on the code violation remediation.
That's not something the commission or I can speak to.
Okay.
Talk to the code officer about
Okay.
extending the duration.
But-
And I do want to warn us about being, too encouraging of the art. We are not the art commission. And I do want to check with if they need to go in the first place before we get too far ahead of ourselves.
Even a blank panel or something like that would be acceptable. As it is. I mean, a blank panel fixed bar least, so you're not creating, are not allowing any problems that may exist to get worse.
The building is basically watertight and it's an older roof. I was in the building yesterday. It's a vacant building, but not obviously leaking or anything. Question I have with the art, who would provide the graphics? Is this something we would be expected to do or someone with the city?
Because again, we don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole. And if it's something that you're not interested in pursuing, the commission is okay with the blank panels, so.
Okay.
Maybe an opportunity to tie back your graffiti problem to this, right? That you can do panels that are more distracting. Like we, it's something else, right? That people are less likely to graffiti that somehow tie back into whatever they want to put in the sign. Might be able to filter very one side.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're very open to options with the understanding that we are not forever committing ourselves to this.
I mean, I did think about it. A lot of the business I had has prompted, there's some engagement with other entities that needs to happen back to us. So that way all those things can be to allow us to move forward, because we don't have to over a lot.
Yeah.
So
And again, we want to apologize for the violations that have occurred on it. But having said that, if anybody notices graffiti on the site or anything, please call our offices and we will resolve it as fast as we can. We are committed to resolving those issues promptly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point is the simple solution is acceptable.
Yeah.
Consider if there's
Yeah.
something greater.
So for our next steps, should I contact our commission directly or?
I will reach out just to
Okay.
make sure, just because I sit across from the art commission staff person. So I don't want to send you down a rabbit hole. We don't.
Okay, that'd be great.
I think it's public property and not private, but I get confused because I don't staff art. Yeah. This is historic, so I will stick with my historic buildings and we'll check with the art person. Because we can't comment on the art with the exception of like location, dimension sort of thing. Subject matter isn't our.
Yeah, I mean, if we're just talking about, taking, blank panels and allowing somebody to, create an art element to it, I mean, I think that's simple enough.
Well, we gotta be careful of, not being excited.
That side thing.
I mean,
Yeah,
Me-
Panels.
Yeah,
I mean, if it was aesthetic, non-text,
right, because they had, they had applied, I don't remember. It's two different. They had proposed something that was not going around. Yeah, I would use that as the possible thing.
Like you have enough.
yeah. And so we'll touch base and, and all that. And then, yeah, we'll need to confer with the code enforcement officer. But again, we want to act in, the spirit of things. So,
Yeah.
all right. Thank you.
If you want to be on the July agenda with a revised proposal, you have for a week from today to submit, just because it has a really tight deadline. If not, we'll probably be looking about August. The code officer is typically pretty good if he knows you're working with us, because he knows got a tight turnaround as well as what our schedules are, but please do double check.
As long as we're not offending anybody on this, committee that, for the time frame that if we weren't able to make it for July, that August, would be our absolute intent to make this happen. So, all right. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, for number 7, I think we might need to just consider this one withdrawn because the applicant did tell me he wanted to withdraw it. I was just trying to get confirmation because I thought some extra dialogue. I'd be hearing it. But since they're not here, I'll just kind of mark it in there as withdrawn. What? No, it's conceptual. If it's technically withdrawn, then no.
Yes.
So, nothing that's on the agenda, but I do want to give a huge thanks to Jose, because this is his last meeting buddying for us. It'll just be me being solo next time, so we're gonna have some stuff to talk about. As well as I would like to give Commissioners Dodson and Shaw a thank you as they are stepping down. So we will be 5 as opposed to 7 until we get our replacements in. But at least on the upside, the 3 other people who have had their terms expiring June 30th did get renewed, I believe June 2nd. Emails went out today to confirm that. And if you haven't seen it, surprise. Yeah, Shally, who managed kind of the like commission management side of things, was out of office last week. So thank you all. And as a quick heads up, though I haven't had anything said officially, I don't know where we're going to be for the business meeting or the hearing. I think we're okay in 205 for the business meeting, but they're renovating this room over the summer.
Sure.
Yes.
They're updating the like audio visual stuff from what I remember. I haven't received a finalization email of when this starts or where we're going to be. Our amazing administrative assistant who helps us out with this stuff is on vacation this week, so I will get it confirmed hopefully before the next business meeting. So lots of fun changes happening.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What? And June. So the business meeting, I think is set now.
Yes.
Permitted to attend, and then after that, access is cut off to the building. Yeah.
You could just, sit and stare and confuse people occasionally.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for observing.
Yes.
Really.
Okay. Is it much to do? Second, all those in favor?
Aye.